Hi, welcome to episode 9. This chapter takes us on a very long journey with Yeshua.
That is correct, Isabella, yes. So we're going to go through great details about this enormous journey that Yeshua is taking, and which will take him to finally India. So they're going to be going through, of course, leaving from Galilee, going through Judea. They're going to be crossing Saudi Arabia. They're going to be crossing Iraq, Iran, Turkmenistan,
Oh my gosh.
Afghanistan. They're going to go into Kashmir, a little trip into the Ladakh, and finally India and the southern part of India.
And he is 14?
He's 13 and a half and he's traveling with Yosh Heram. Yeah. So this trip is going to take many months, actually years. He's almost 14 years old. He's not coming back in Galilee and Judea until the age of 31.
Oh, so he's gone for a long time.
Yes, he's gone for a
Okay.
very long time.
So they have a lot of stops along the way, it sounds
Yes,
like.
there will be a
Okay.
lot of stops, and we will go through in great details about every one of those stages. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, we are the 3 weeks after coming back from Jericho. You remember in the last episode, Yeshua met for the first time in this incarnation with
In this incarnation, right?
right with John the Baptist, also known as, we're going to call him Yohanan. And they basically spent a couple of days with the Nazirs in one of the caves in the cliffs overlooking Jericho. He also met Zachary and Elisheva, the parents of Yohanan. And so now he's back into his village. And he's wondering if he should take the vow of becoming a Nazir. So, unfortunately, he decides to do it.
Oh no.
He was very impressed by the dedication and the very ascetic life of those people around Jericho, and he decided to do it. And again, to summarize what a Nazir is basically you're not supposed to talk, so mutism is mandatory. You also have to eat very little stuff. You cannot get close to a person who is dead, so that's another stuff. So there are a lot of rules which are preventing you from doing pretty much anything in life.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so to become a Nazir, okay? And so he's taking those vows for 30 days, which is like a month, right? And his parents, of course, are against it. They're arguing, well, you are way too young. I mean, this is ridiculous.
And advanced, I have to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
At your age, you shouldn't do that. But he's very stubborn and doesn't want to change anything about it.
I think sometimes you just have to experience things, right? How could you even talk about or know about anything unless you experience
It's very
it,
true,
right?
very true, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, fortunately, the following day after taking the vow of becoming a Nazir, his friend Yosh Heram is coming to pick him up.
Oh.
So Yosh arrives in the village and says to Yeshua, well, now it's a time to go, and the caravan is waiting for us. Your uncle has prepared everything. This is the right time to do this long journey. And Yeshua is, of course, complaining. He says, I need to isolate. I cannot talk. This is not the right time. Can we postpone it? And
now, what do you mean he couldn't? He was done with the 30 days then.
No, he's not done. He's just started.
Oh, he just started on the road. He was going to do the 30 days.
Yes, he took the vow the day before Yosh Heram came.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Yosh is telling him, okay, well, if you want to isolate yourself, it's fine. But isolation doesn't mean immobilism. So
you can still walk.
You can still walk and you can still ride a camel. And so that finally, after a lot of negotiations, Yeshua admits that Yosh is right and they should not postpone their long trip. And despite being now a new Nazir, he can still go along with it and it should work. So, of course, they have, a bunch of farewells in the village with all the friends, the family, and this is a very, very sad part, So Miriam, his mother, is holding the young little sister, Sarah. They are both crying. Young brother Judas is also, trying to follow Yeshua and
On his
Yosh
way out.
on his way out, and it's very
Oh, I don't want to picture
heartbreaking.
that. I could picture them running after the camels. Stop.
Yeah, and
No, wait a minute. Do they know they're going to be gone for that long?
well, they realize they're going to be gone for a long time.
For a
yes,
long time,
I mean,
okay.
At least they can envision probably months, if not years. But I mean, you have to put into perspective that Yeshua has been gone for 6 years already
Yeah,
in the
it's
school,
true.
right?
Right.
So they are used to his long absences, to say
Right.
the least.
Yeah.
But that absence is going to be tremendously long because we are talking almost 20 years,
Yeah.
18 years of absence. So this is
Everybody's
massive.
going to change a lot.
Right, yeah. And even Yusuf, the father, is actually too proud to show his, his
Sadness.
sadness and is hiding. And Yeshua is affected by that because he realized that he will never see his father alive again.
Oh.
Yeah, he knows it.
So he has that
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. But he has to do it.
Yeah, he has to do it, yeah. So they finally walk and they arrive in Jericho. The caravan is supposed to start in Jericho. And again, we have posted the map so the audience can refer
And
to
again,
it.
I'm sorry, how many people are on the caravan with them?
Well, it's only Yosh and him. The other people are just merchants.
Okay.
And
Oh,
the
I see.
leader of
And
the
so they're
caravan.
just kind of going
It's-
in that
yeah,
caravan.
It's a commercial
oh, I get
caravan.
It. I get it.
And they are just,
Just adding on, tagging along.
tagging along with
Okay.
them. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And so Yeshua, being a brand new Nazir, decides to walk barefoot all the way to Jericho. And when he arrives in Jericho, of course, his feet are completely bleeding,
Yeah.
and he cannot walk anymore. Okay, well, 13-year-old, 14-year-old learning the ropes about living.
Yes. Poor thing.
So he realizes his mistakes,
Oh boy.
Fortunately for the rest of the caravan, he's not going to walk so much, but he's going to be riding a camel.
On camel. That's good.
So the caravan is waiting for them in Jericho, as we mentioned, and this is all. The whole logistic has been put in place by the Uncle Yusuf. Uncle Yusuf also paid the leader of the caravan, royally, to take care of them and to take them to the destinations, which is the Mountain of Solomon. This is the official name of their destination.
Their first destination?
The first destination, yeah.
Solomon. Okay, Mount
Yeah,
Solomon.
and which is located somewhere in Kashmir or something like that. But we'll get to that much later, yeah. So they stay, setting up a caravan takes a lot of effort, This is not something like you jump on a car, on a train, and then you start, or even board a plane, and
Right.
that's it. So they have a bunch of animals which are, grazing and drinking a lot, and they are loading those animals with cargoes and merchandises, precious stuff, food, drinks, and so it takes a few days. And so Yosh and Yeshua are staying into a little tent on the side of Jericho while the caravan is being prepared. And so Yeshua, of course, being a brand new Nazir, is now letting his hair grow, his beard grow, although he probably doesn't have much beard at his
Yeah, I was
age
going to
yet.
think maybe he doesn't.
But
Well, some kids
His
do.
skin is entirely covered with ashes.
Yes,
And he
that's
doesn't
right.
drink anything or
Yeah.
doesn't want to eat anyway. So to a point where one of the caravan organizer wearing a turban, so we can assume that this guy is not from Israel. He's more probably from Afghanistan or Turkmenistan or maybe Iran or Iraq,
Right.
because of his attire. And he comes to him and he asks him, why did you take the vows of Nazir? I mean, you're so young, Why did you do that? And so the guy is really surprised to see a young kid,
Right.
do that so early. And so Yeshua doesn't really have an answer for that. I mean, nothing that he can clearly explain to the.
But he couldn't talk though either, right? Didn't he have a vow of
He's
silence?
supposed to be silent, but he's trying to answer in the most simplistic way possible.
Right.
And then the guy with the turban asked him, I wanted to ask you a question. I noticed that all the people who take those vows of Nazirs or having an ascetic life are always sad. They never smile, they never laugh, they're always that sad face on
Well,
them.
they're probably always hungry. I don't know. I would be. Can't talk to anybody. I mean, that's torture.
So, and that comment is actually teaching Yeshua a lot of good stuff. Because why is it that when you're on the spiritual path, you are lacking humor, smiles, and happiness? And so there is something wrong with that.
Yeah, because that's not how it needs to be.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
No.
like that, right?
Right.
And I think
Quite the opposite. You need it to laugh as much as possible.
exactly. So I think the realization of this is probably going to influence the future teachings of Yeshua when he teaches his disciples. Because, he's now in this context of Qumran, where it's all about asceticism, it's all about renunciation, it's all about covering your body with ashes, it's all about
Not being seen.
not being seen and
Yeah.
not being active in the world besides your prayers. And so that doesn't work very well with the
They're
development
not getting a lot of contrast.
No.
Someone Jesus to
Yes.
just go hide in some little hovel somewhere and not have any kind of contrast. right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like hiding away or escaping the reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Although I have to say they're in prayer. I mean they're doing some good for the planet.
right. Yes.
But I'm not sure about how their inner workings are.
Right. So it's a lot of food for thoughts, basically, for young Yeshua at this point, and I'm sure he will take advantage of that in the future, yeah. So they have an extra day before the caravan goes, and Yosh Heram goes to the leader of the caravan, and we're going to talk about that guy, the leader of the caravan, because he will be extremely instrumental in the entire life of Yeshua, and especially on his old days. And I don't want to talk too much about it, but we will see.
Okay.
And Yosh is trying to negotiate that the caravan stops in Qumran.
Oh.
So as you can see on the map, basically the caravan is leaving from Jericho. Qumran is southeast of Jericho, and they're going to be traveling down to the Red Sea.
Okay.
Okay? And so Yosh, is negotiating, is probably paying a lot of money. Stupidly, but we're going to see. So that the whole caravan can stop at the Monastery of Sokuk, who is also known by nowadays by Qumran.
So he wanted them to take a different path.
Well, it's
let's
a
just kind of
slight deviation.
turn to the left just
right.
a little bit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it is basically the second time that Yeshua has an opportunity to enter the monastery of Qumran.
Okay, yeah, because
Also
the first time
the
it
first
was
time
done
he
in
declined
astral.
it. Yes, the first time he went into the astral and didn't like it.
Right.
And then the first time also Yohanan, his friend Yohanan, was inviting him, if you want to come with us, we're going to go and see the...
Right.
And so the second time, there is a second opportunity with Yosh Heram. And I think this time Yeshua has to agree because he thinks, okay, the universe is trying to tell me to go there. There must be a reason.
Right, right.
So while the caravan is resting and, probably mumbling about having to stop so quickly, but anyway.
Right.
So those two, Yosh and Yeshua, are moving toward the monastery of Qumran. And they are trying to enter, and it is very difficult. They are not welcome. So that's very interesting, again, as it seems, they are not welcome in the monastery of Qumran.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So Yosh is doing a lot of tractation and negotiation. Finally, they call the Venerable, the head of the monastery, and the Venerable comes, and after grumbling and so forth, takes them inside the monastery.
Okay.
So the first room into which they go through is the room where they copy the books and the scrolls and all this stuff,
Okay.
So you see some people working there. And Yeshua, of course, being, I guess he's admitted into it because he's covered
in ashes. Yeah.
Probably, I don't know if he's still walking barefoot, probably not, but... And so the Venerable present, the team, the monks who are basically copying the books and everything. And Yeshua, being curious, looks at their aura. Okay, so the first thing he always does is study the aura, and he doesn't see any love or anything of a high spiritual nature in them.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's probably due to their ascetic life, the fact that there is no humor, no laughs, no rejoicing of any kind. And that is affecting their mind and their spiritual body as well. Yeah.
Depressing and boring.
Yes, very much. So
but, everybody
Yeshua
has
realized that their hearts are really dry. They are dry. Not to say dead, but pretty much dry. And so the Venerable, probably realizing that there is some kind of analysis being done of his monastery, he's asking he's starting a very unpleasant discussion with Yeshua.
Oh.
Yeah. So he starts mocking him and telling, so you studied in the northern part of Galilee, in the Carmel school, right? And of course, here we do things very differently, So it starts, and apparently you're very advanced. I've heard that you're very advanced. You're an avatar or something. So, and so the Venerable is pushing Yeshua into, saying stupid things, and he asks him, so what do you think about all this, do you feel superior to the other people and everything? I mean, it's really negative.
He's trying to see if he can get something out of him.
Exactly, push his buttons and poke him as much as possible.
Yeah.
But Yeshua, of course, realized the trap and does not respond to any of his attacks. And actually tells him that to open your heart, you have to understand other people, first of all. And that keeps the discussion completely. The Venerables, from that point, ignores Yeshua, completely ignores him, and only invites Yosh to move on to the rest of the visit of the monastery.
Well, yeah, there you go. His heart wasn't open, that's for sure.
So poor Yeshua, stays in the first room, basically, where they entered, while Yosh is going into the rest of the monastery to negotiate something.
Okay, so Yosh, was he going there for something in particular, or did he want Yeshua to go in there?
No, he's going there for something in particular, and you're absolutely right.
Okay.
So after a long moment, Yosh Heram returns, obviously very upset and hurt. So something happened. He invites Yeshua to leave immediately.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they both leave with a very bitter feeling, Yosh is not saying anything at all, and Yeshua is kind of shocked and hurt by the way the Venerable addressed him, and tried to provoke him. And so again, the monastery of Qumran, I know it is very important for a lot of scholars and doctors who are searching into the scrolls and all this stuff, but I think it's important to realize that Qumran and Jesus and Yeshua are not two things that are working together. There is an incompatibility between the two, and I think it's important to realize that. And there will be another attempt in the future of his life to go into Qumran, and it will be the same stuff. They do not like what Yeshua is doing. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's important that we convey that message. Yeah. So what I wanted to say, and I forgot to say it at the beginning too, is that this whole trip, which is going to last 18 years, is of course unknown to the scholars, the Bibles, and any writings which have been done on the life of Yeshua. And the reason is because there was only two people, Yosh and Yeshua, to do this trip.
Oh.
Right? And Yosh is very old, and we know we can already foresee that he's gonna die during the trip. Okay? So the only one left will be Yeshua. And why would he write about himself?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So now there have been some documents which have been found in India indicating that Yeshua stayed in India, in southern part of India, and those documents are valid, but they are not part of the official Bible.
Right. Well, there's lots of books missing.
Yes, exactly.
Well, not missing, stored away somewhere.
And a lot of books which have never been written. So
or a lot of books that have been burnt.
Yeah, burnt.
The
But
Romans went through
I
and
think this
cleaned a lot
this
out.
whole journey of 18 years that we are going to present to the audience has never been mentioned anywhere. So we can access it through the Akashic records. And that's the only way we can actually go back to it.
That's good because it fills in all the missing.
Yes,
It's like where? Okay, so he left. He only starts in the Bible at what age?
Well, in the Bible he's born, and
Right.
then 30 years later they talk about him.
Right.
But there is nothing in between.
That's a little odd.
Yeah, it's very, very odd, yeah. So they are now back on the caravan. And the caravan is now moving to the Red Sea, okay, going south. And after 2 days, Yosh finally explained what happened. Why he was so upset with the visit in Qumran, and why he was so mad about the kind of welcoming they gave him. So he said, the monastery of Sukuk, Qumran, has a treasure. It's a bronze medallion, okay, that used to belong to Solomon, King Solomon.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So that bronze medallion, we're going to show a picture of it. So it's round. It has 8 arms. 3 of the arms are terminated by hands, and it is symbolic of the King Solomon. So it's very precious because of the origin of it and the fact that it is very, very old. And Yosh Heram saw that medallion in the monastery of Qumran years and years ago.
Okay.
So he asked to see it again, but the Venerable prevented him from doing so and told Yosh that actually the medallion was no longer with them. Which is, of course, it's a lie.
Right. Right.
It is there, right?
All right. So that's
So poor Yosh, had, I think he wanted to do well. He wanted to show that medallion to Yeshua because he wanted Yeshua to be blessed by the medallion. But then he realized that it should be the other way around. The medallion had no way of blessing Yeshua,
Yeah.
I mean, how can... It's a piece of metal, right?
right.
Even though it may be loaded with a lot of stuff, it's remained a piece of metal. how can a piece of metal bless an avatar like
Right.
Yeshua, right? So Yosh is still, he's an old man. He's traditional in all the way he has been taught and everything, and in his belief. And so he realized the absurdity of what he was trying to do. Yeah.
Okay. Poor guy.
So the result of all this is that Yeshua is thinking about it, because he's not supposed to talk much, so he has a lot of time to think. And he's a little bit tired and sad about all these rivalries and the petty discord,
Nothing's changed.
Nothing.
Hate to tell them. Nothing's changed.
Yeah. So it takes them 3 days to reach the Sea of Edom. So the Sea of Edom is basically the ancient name for the Red Sea.
Okay.
Okay, and so for Yeshua, it's a fantastic view, because suddenly, he spent most of his life in the mountains. Although he has seen the sea before when he was in Egypt, he was still an infant, very young, and he's absolutely marveling at the sight of this beautiful sea with all the reflection of the sun on the water and everything. So. And from the sea, they can see the mountains where Moses received the words and the famous commandments.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there are mountains on the shore of that Red Sea, and that's supposedly where Moses, was receiving the gods. So Yeshua is wondering, if the words have been coming from God or from Elohim. And for the audience who didn't listen to the previous episodes that we recorded, Elohim is actually a beneficiary, a very positive extraterrestrial entity that is overlooking the life and the existence of Yeshua.
Okay.
Probably from Pleiadian origins. And I never studied very well the Moses and the Ten Commandments, and the burning bushes, but let me allow to give my own interpretation about that. On top of the mountains there were no bushes and nothing to burn, and so those burning bushes were most likely scout ships, extraterrestrial, what we call UFO, with the light glowing in the night. Moses was probably invited to go there, had a visit from extraterrestrial with a bunch of scout ships burning or glowing around him, and he was telepathically receiving the commandments. That's my opinion. Now you can believe what you want.
That's a good little opinion there. I mean, it could be. There's all possibilities.
I have to say that Yeshua thinks in the same way as I do.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he said that for him it was Elohim.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no doubt.
Okay.
And so then, they start a long journey. As I mentioned before, after they are basically crossing now Saudi Arabia, which is an enormous, massive country in the desert. And Yeshua realized that he really loved the solitude and the precarity of their situation. Interestingly, he loved the desert and the mountains, and he comes to think about, what could happen to them. Basically, the worst that can happen is that they would lose their life. That's the way he sees it. But, we have to put ourselves into his shoes.
Yeah.
He's a teenager, right? He is aware of the multiple reincarnation that the soul does into multiple physical body for a different experience. He's probably aware of his past, or a certain way, a certain stages of his past, and that's probably what gives him the confidence to be so confident in a way, and not fear anything.
Right.
Yeah. So, and he believes that life is just given for a short time and for a certain purposes, and we have to live it to the fullest.
Right.
That's what he thinks. So the whole
Pretty good for a teenager.
Yes. So the whole caravan is basically, they stop during the night, they unfold their tents, they sleep. In the morning, they pray for protection from nature, but mostly for human beings, because those caravans are always, you know, the target of pillagers and brigands and, you know, all kind of people who are trying to
Land pirates.
Who are trying to get all the cargoes and supplies that they are carrying, as well as the animals. So
Yeah, he experienced that once already going to Mount Carmel, right?
right, yeah.
Well,
with
those were the Roman soldiers.
Yeah, those were the Roman soldiers, yeah.
Pirates.
And so, you know, those people are very, very religious, but, you know, they also invoke a lot of protection as much as possible. And they're going to do that for months and months and months, because this long trip is going to take forever. And so at this point, you know, I just wanted to retell a little story that happens somewhere in the middle of Saudi Arabia. They come to a small oasis, and they're all happy because, you know, an oasis means food for the animals. It means drink for the animals and the humans, and it also means, you know, resting and being able to access maybe other type of nourishment. And so they enter the village, and they realize that the village is basically empty. There is nobody, which is surprising, you know, because typically when you have a caravan coming into a village which is in the middle of a desert, the first thing that you would see would be kids coming out of the houses and running. Running toward who is this? You know, what are they bringing? What kind of animals and so forth. I mean, there will be a lot of joy and happiness in seeing a new caravan. But here it's totally desert, and so the leader of the caravan is asking them to not put their feet on the ground and stay on their rides, basically. And so they cross the village, you know, and they are a little bit disappointed because there is no way for them to get water or food or anything. And so they keep moving, and then they see some people in a kind of a few rocks. And so the leader of the caravan talked to these people. Fortunately, he knows their language, so he can exchange with them. And they explained to him that one man who was crazy, mad, just died. And they are afraid that his soul, which is evil, because he was not behaving normally, would come into the village and try to possess somebody else.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so that's why
scary.
they have been asking everybody to retreat into their house and lock the doors and the windows, so that the soul could not try to
But
possess
for how long
someone.
do you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Yeshua again feels compelled, he feels the impulse to go and get close to that piece of rock where the corpse of the dead person is located. And Yosh starts yelling, "No, you cannot do that. You took the vow of Nazir. You cannot be next to a dead person."
Oh my gosh, that's right. Oh no.
So again, you know, big struggle inside Yeshua. Should I honor my vow, or should I do what I need to do?
Oh.
And again, you know, logic and common sense prevails. And he says, forget about the vows. I'm going to do what I need to do.
Thank God.
Thanks God. Yeah.
Yes.
So he gets close to the body of to the corpse, basically. And then from the side of his eyes, he noticed some kind of like a fog, a dense fog, which is the soul of the person.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, basically the death just happened, and the astral body and the mind and some of the upper bodies are still floating next to the corpse, right? We know that it takes a few days and sometimes it takes years, even hundreds of years in some cases, for the soul to detach from the physical body. And so Yeshua follows that, and then this fog, you know, disappears, and then he reappears, and so Yeshua decides to follow the fog, you know, and it starts communicating with the fog.
Oh,
The soul, basically.
Right.
I said fog because it looks like a fog, you know.
right.
And only him can see it. Nobody else can see what he's doing. They don't understand why he goes on the side of the rocks
Yeah.
to talk and why he talks to something. So people look at him completely
Like,
amazed.
we got another crazy person
Right,
here.
another crazy. And Yeshua, you know, communicates with the fog and asks him, you know, why are you doing this? Why are you not going to the light? Why are you staying stuck here on this terrestrial plane instead of going back to God?
Mm-hmm.
And the fog tells him, you know, I'm lost. I don't know where to go.
Oh.
And the people around here do not understand what is happening. I don't know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you know, some kind of impulse goes through Yeshua, and with his fingers, he points his fingers to the soul, and there is a light coming out of his fingers, and the soul is basically jettisoned
Oh.
to the right location. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he disappears. And then he returns back to the group of people and to the caravan leader and tells them, okay, I have freed his soul. There was nothing demonic about him. You won't have any problem. You can now bury his body.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's what it is, right? I mean, it's
That's
a
what
lot
it
of
is.
people who don't go to the light, or they don't know where to go, or they're afraid, or they've maybe died a horrible death, or they don't want
Yes.
to leave behind somebody because they know they're going to be very upset, and then all of a sudden they get stuck here and they don't know how to go back. So
Yes.
it has to be somebody who can
Yeah.
see or have a sense of them and know to how to send them to the light, because there are people who are capable of doing that.
I guess
And-
you know very well.
Yes,
how
I
this
do. I
works.
do know very well. I found out the hard way what I know and what I need to do. But in any case, so it's important. It's important to release them, because it's a
Yeah.
scary place to be in
It
between.
is very, very important, yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it's important for this terrestrial plane to sanitize it in a certain way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you very much. In our next episode, we will be exploring and going through more details about this long journey.
We hope to see you back. Thank you.